Trump lawyer Joe Tacopina has been making the rounds on cable news to defend his client. Well, of course, that's obviously his job. And defending him specifically in the case of allegations of campaign finance fraud. So that's the big case. Right now, the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, is considering whether or not to indict the former president in relation to the $130,000 hush money payment made to Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels. Basically they're trying to figure out if it is if it's campaign finance fraud, which is a crime in this country. So now that said, Tacopina has been arguing that Michael Cohen, one of the lead witnesses here that has spoken to the Manhattan DA, has been in different depositions and has testified. They're saying, Tacopina is saying that Michael Cohen's untrustworthy. You can't trust a goddamn thing that guy's saying. And that really this entire thing is 100% political. It's just a witch hunt to take down Donald Trump. And so I'm going to show you a video here of an example of him making the case to Aaron Burnett over on CNN. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you something that, might contradict that from an interesting source. Take a look.
Alan Bragg once said, and I hope he remembers these words, he can't see a world in which he would base a prosecution of Donald Trump on the word of a convicted perjurer and felon like Michael Cohen. He's still a convicted perjurer. He's someone who was convicted of lying. And it's not about vengeance. It's all about vengeance for him. But putting that aside, Aaron, here's the question. Does anyone actually believe, anyone, left, right, middle, whatever, that if someone else were accused of paying hush money to avoid a public sex scandal in the manner that Donald Trump is alleged to have avoided a public sex scandal, they would be prosecuted? The answer is 100% no.
That is kind of the problem. You see, we have laws for a reason, and those laws should apply equally. So, for example, look, if Bernie Sanders, I love Bernie Sanders, right? If Bernie Sanders paid off a porn star hush money before he launched a campaign and then lied about it and tried to call it legal expenses, I'd be like, Bernie, no, I'm done. Like, because that's a lie. You would be lying to people and you would be trying to cover something up. And so I would actually hope that we had a justice system that would treat everyone equally, that would actually go after and indict that person if they broke campaign finance law. And that's the core of the matter here. Okay. Now, thankfully, of course, Bernie Sanders would not do something like that. But with Trump, yeah, 100%. Look, that said, if it hadn't been an illegal campaign contribution, then it wouldn't be illegal. Then it wouldn't be a legal problem. It'd just be like Donald Trump's kind of he's a bad person, but he didn't break the law. And again, you don't go to get indicted or go to prison for being a bad person. It matters what you do and if you break the law or not. So that said, look, this guy, Tacopina, going on and basically going after Michael Cohen and calling him an untrustworthy witness, he's got a point. And look, I've admitted that before. Yes, there is an issue because he has previously lied under oath. Now, what Tacopina, in all of his different media appearances, I haven't really heard him point out the fact that when he was lying under oath, perjuring himself, he was doing it on behalf of none other than Donald Trump. Oops. And by the way, Michael Cohen went to prison for that. Now, again, he did this on behalf of Trump right before a presidential campaign, and I think that's very important too. So now, obviously, if he used campaign funds, that would be massively illegal. If he used personal funds, that would seem to be very, very politically motivated nonetheless. So, look, the timing here, if you're doing a payoff right before a presidential campaign, you could imagine that if this information had come out, it would have potentially harmed said campaign by hurting the image of a candidate. That would count as a contribution. Now, that said, with the power of hindsight and all the scandals that, Trump has gone through throughout the years that did nothing, that hadn't touched him at all, well, we know that this certain thing wouldn't have hurt, Trump at all. Again, it seems pretty reasonable to assume that it would have hurt his campaign at the time, which is probably the logic that the Trump team had used in saying, we need to shut this woman up, because that's gonna have a massive impact, we think, on our campaign in winning the Republican nomination and hurting my political career. Now, that said, is it fraud? Is it a potential campaign contribution violation? Well, I'm going to show you a video here of a well-respected lawyer that is going to make the same argument.
Everything is fair game, and it's hard to argue, oh, you can't look at this or you can't look at that. So yes, if there's an issue with that payment to Stormy Daniels being that it was made on behalf of the candidate, okay, and it was not declared, that's fair game, unfortunately, if that's the case. And, quite frankly, Michael Cohen, again, has made statements that would give rise to suspicion for any prosecutor to say, that doesn't make sense, that a lawyer took out a home equity loan with his own money, paid somebody that he didn't even know on behalf of a client who, by the way, had the wherewithal and the money to afford $130,000. Yeah. And by the way, didn't tell the client about the settlement agreement. It's an illegal agreement. It's a fraud. If that's in fact the case, the straight face test. And quite frankly, if that is what happened, we have a potential campaign finance issue.
Yeah. So,
that guy, man, he's making great points. Dropping facts right there. Seems rather familiar, though. I don't know. Who is this? Oh, I know who that is. Oh, yeah, that's Joe Tacopina back in 2018. Now, funny enough, turns out we find out that he may have a little bit of a conflict of interest. Oh, big surprise, right? Well, what do I mean by that? Well, it turns out he was giving Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels, legal advice. And that is before he signed up to be Donald Trump's defense attorney. Oh. Now, look, I'm going to be completely honest, right, about some of the points. Is there a political motivation to what Bragg is doing? Yeah, I do think so. And why do I say that? Well, it's, again, less an indictment of Bragg himself, and, of course, not exoneration or making any excuses for Donald Trump. But what I'm saying is, and I want to point this out because I don't think a lot of people are making this point. In America, rich people tend to get away with crimes. I know. Shock. The only time that rich people are actually held accountable when they do crime is when they steal other rich people's money. Very important. You steal rich people's money as a rich person, they're coming for you. So, look, is that necessarily the case here? Did Donald Trump steal money from rich people? Well, no, he's been stealing from mainly his donors that are, dumb enough to give him money and campaign contributions, and then not spending it on, the things that he said he was going to spend it on. For example, fighting, to prove that there is election fraud, supporting Republican candidates in the midterm. No, he took all that money and stuffed it in his pocket. Okay. Now, look, rich people don't care about that. No, what rich people care about, the donors specifically, Republican donors, they're over Trump. Now, look, that's not to say that if Donald Trump wins the Republican nomination, which is certainly possible, that they wouldn't come back and fund his campaign because again, it's him versus Joe Biden. Okay. They're going to choose Trump. I would be very, very surprised if Republican donors decided to say, okay, we'll fund Joe Biden. It could happen, though. But mainly they're saying they're over. We're over Donald Trump. We got to have somebody else. We got to have somebody else. Okay. And so that said, that's why I think it is more likely for Donald Trump to actually have some sort of consequences. I'm not saying that that's definitely the case or it's going to be the case. Certainly he could, there's enough people on his side where he could rig a lot of any sort of consequences. So unfortunately, that seems to be a little bit more up in the air, but I think it's more of a possibility here that Donald Trump could face some sort of consequences versus another incredibly wealthy person. That's all I'm trying to say. And so what I think is going on is maybe they're just letting Bragg make a case to potentially nail Trump with a crime, because it is a real crime, doing campaign finance violations. But generally, this is a crime that most rich people tend to get away with. You see what I mean? And so that's the situation as far as I see it. I could be wrong. And again, there's no guarantee that Donald Trump is going to face any sort of consequences for this, even though what I see it to be is a clear crime. But that said, I don't know if if that's the case. But let me point out that the reason that I think right-wing media, when they cover this, does not address the point that breaking campaign finance law is a crime, I think it's really relevant. I think it's really important. The narrative here is it's a witch hunt. It's all political. It's political weaponization. It's the Biden DOJ that's partnering with the Manhattan DA. They're coming after Trump. Phony charges. No, I think there was a crime committed, and I would like to see accountability for it. And it doesn't happen very often, but I think there's a little bit more of a possibility that it could, more so than I think the average wealthy, powerful person.